Hi folks, it's Ed with Outdoors with Ed and sometimes G. When I watch YouTube, I often wonder, what's the person about behind the scenes? What's this person made of? What I want to do is take one video and commit it, dedicate it to telling you a little bit about who it is that you're watching when you watch our channel. There's many places I could start, but what I want to start with is G and I. We've been married since October 18th, 1990. So that means that October 18th of 2021, we will have been married 31 years. 31 years. We have 3 children. Our firstborn is getting ready to turn 28. She's our daughter with 3 children, so we have 3 grandchildren, and then I have a 25-year-old son and a 22-year-old son. I really hope I got their ages right. Anyway, so that's a little bit about us. Just shortly after we got married back in 1990, I joined the National Guard in the state of Kentucky. Spent 6 months in the National Guard. Basically, as soon as I got through with training, I was having so much fun, we decided to go full-time. Went full-time Army. First duty station was a tough one. It was in the Presidio of San Francisco. Presidio of San Francisco. At the time, it was the Army's best-kept secret. Not a good place to send a young soldier for his first duty station. I was a little spoiled. By the way, I was a combat medic in the Guard, and when I went active duty, they made me an orthopedic technician, so I've rolled over 5,000 or 6,000 casts in my career. But so I spent 2 years in the Presidio of San Francisco, and then after that, they were shutting that facility down that I worked in, Letterman Army Hospital, and they sent us to another tough duty station, Honolulu, Hawaii, where we spent 6 years working at Tripler Army Medical Center, Schofield Barracks. And then after that, yet another tough duty assignment, Colorado Springs, Colorado, where I worked at Evans Army Hospital as an orthopedic technician. I was also the 64th Forward Support Battalion. After that, I spent 2 years there from 2000 to 2002, and then I put my recruiting packet in, and they sent us to yet another tough duty assignment, Jacksonville, Florida, to recruit, where I spent 3 years from 02 to 05. Had a great time there. It was tough, though, probably the toughest assignment. After that duty assignment, we were sent to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is about 3 hours from where we are both from. That's where we have been since 2005. We've been here at Fort Knox. I retired in 2011, and a month after I retired, started working as a civil servant at the hospital on Fort Knox as an orthopedic technician. And then I took another job in that same clinic as a podiatry technician. I worked there for 7 years. And then in 2017, I started working for the unit that I worked for when I retired. I started working for the Army Healthcare Recruiting, pretty much the same unit that I retired from. And that is where I work today. Spent 20 years in the Army, have been a civil servant for the last 10 years, so 30 years working for the government. Now, the little piece that I failed to mention is once I went into recruiting, I spent 3 years there. I came back to my other job as an orthopedic technician for 2 years, and then went back into recruiting, and that's where I spent my final 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years in recruiting. Both of my sons spent time in the National Guard. My older son spent 3 years in full-time Army. My younger son is a police officer. I will not disclose the city where he is, but he is a police officer and loves serving. I also surrendered to ministry years ago. Didn't didn't know where God was going to take me when I surrendered, didn't know how God was going to use me. and he probably ended up using me a little bit different than usual. I was ordained as a deacon over in First Baptist Church, Pearl Harbor, Honolulu. Served as a deacon there for 4 or 5 years, and then came back over, served in various roles in churches, music leader, deacon. My wife and I planted a church in a small town next to Fort Knox in 2014. I pastored that church for 3 years, and in 2017 I was diagnosed with a brain tumor the size of an orange, not my fist, the size of a small orange, a big lemon or a small orange, however you want to classify it. It was huge, and so I had surgery to remove that brain tumor. Can't really tell either. They split me from ear to ear, removed that brain tumor. It was basically sitting right here. So recovered nicely. God has been very good to me, no complaints whatsoever. I often joke and tell people I'm smarter now than I was before the brain tumor. So that brings us up to current, and I will just backtrack a little bit and say that I'm from southeastern Kentucky. I was born the very youngest of my mother's 18 pregnancies. She had 15 children that were born, 3 miscarriages, and of the 15 children that were born, 1 passed away at an hour and a half old, and 1 died at 11 days old. Now, all 3 of those miscarriages happened right prior to my birth, so I almost didn't happen. I always describe myself as the youngest of 13 children. So that's a little bit about the background of who I am and where I come from. Now, I want to shift focus just a little bit and talk about the Army. So, because I'm going to title this video My Army Story. So I joined the Army as a National Guardsman back in 1990. A lot of people say, why did you join the military? Well, people join military services for different reasons. Some people do it because tradition. Some people do it service to country. Some people do it for college. Some people do it because they need a job. And quite honestly, that was where I fell into the category. I needed a job. I needed a solid income to take care of G and our future family. And so joined the National Guard, and as a combat medic, came back home as a certified licensed emergency medical technician. I challenged the board of the state of Kentucky and became a registered emergency medical technician in the state of Kentucky, though I never actually worked a job as an EMT. It was not very long after I returned from that training that I asked G if she'd be willing to go full-time, and her answer was, I will follow you wherever you go. And what better answer could any husband ask for? So that's when we joined the Army. I went back to the recruiting station, joined the Army, and we were sent back to Fort Sam Houston, Texas for training, which is where all Army healthcare jobs are trained. And so went back there, received additional training as an orthopedic technician. And again, the first duty station was there in Presidio, San Francisco. Just a beautiful, beautiful post. Look it up if you've never heard of the Presidio of San Francisco. We lived in post housing that was 7/10 of a mile from the southern tip of the Golden Gate Bridge. It was $1 million real estate that we lived on. Totally loved it. We could hear ships passing under the Golden Gate Bridge at night. We could hear their horns as they would give their horns to each other to let them know how close they were or whatnot. We could hear the horns of Alcatraz all the time throughout the night. That back before they changed it to its current electronic horn. Now, back then there was a legitimate original style foghorn before they changed it. So we were there 92, 93, so a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. But as an orthopedic technician, and again, Honolulu, Hawaii, wow. I always joke and tell people we had 6 years of paid vacation in Honolulu. and then to Jacksonville, Florida after that for recruiting, here to Fort Knox where I served as an orthopedic technician, and then went back into recruiting. A lot of people always ask me, were you deployed? Did you go to combat? No, I did not. In my 20 years and 2 months in the Army, I did not get deployed. I did not see combat. I will say this, I didn't do anything to avoid combat. In fact, when 9/11 happened, I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was in a refresher course for emergency medical technicians, which was a requirement that all medical personnel had to take at that time frame in my MOS, military occupational specialty. When 9/11 happened, I was in that class. 21 days prior to 9/11 happening, I submitted a packet to go into recruiting. So 21 days after I submitted that packet is when 9/11 happened. And then shortly after 9/11, I got my orders to go to recruiting school. Started recruiting school in February of 2002. I went to recruiting school then, and I finished training, and I reported to my first duty station in Jacksonville, Florida in May of 2002. I did not see combat, but I did not do anything to avoid seeing combat. That's just a little bit about who I am. Again, currently I am still working for the United States Army in public affairs in healthcare recruiting, so I'm still in the recruiting world as we seek to put in healthcare professionals in the Army and the Army Reserve. So that's a little bit of who I am. When you watch our channel, when I use various terms, you'll know where I'm coming from. I want to also say that G served right alongside me the entire time. We have owned 7 homes. The home we live in now, the one that we built, and if you want to see the entire building of that, you can check us out. Ed and G's farm, I'll leave a link at the end of this video. That's where we chronicled the entire build of our current home where we live now. And our goal was to be in that home prior to our 30th anniversary, and we did make that goal. We did accomplish that goal. But G was with me the entire time serving, and I want to give her credit and publicly thank her for all of her service. The wives and spouses of Army service members go through more than you might think, and she definitely did. The 3 years that I served as an Army recruiter, she took care of our 3 children by herself, because quite honestly, I was not present a good portion of that time. So another way to look at that is when people say, were you deployed? My answer often is no, but I served as a recruiter for 3 years. So in a way, I did serve 36 one-month deployments, and you might not understand what that means unless you've ever been an Army recruiter. There was literally times that she never saw me, and I used to joke about being away from home so often that when I would go home, my daughter would say, "Mommy, there's a man in the house." And again, you won't understand that unless you ever served in the Army or as an Army recruiter. But that's the way it gets sometimes for Army soldiers, and they have to spend so much time away from their families. So I will stop this video for now, but I want to say thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informational, or anything like that, please give me a thumbs up. I'm asking you to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to be reminded when we post new videos. This is dedicated to outdoors, fishing, camping, travel, stuff like that. So if you want to just keep up with us and what we're doing, what's going on, so remember to subscribe to the other channel where we feature our happenings in our farm, our hobby farm that we have. This farm here in central Kentucky. Thank you again.